Jim in Colorado, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Group. I called to thank you. I was listening to you about 2.5 months ago, and I had suffered for several decades with discomfort under my right side rib cage. And as I always do, I was listening to Alex in the background while I was doing things here in the house. And I heard you speak about gallbladder cleansing and liver cleansing, and my ears perked up because the things you were describing sounded exactly like the discomfort and pain that I had been enduring. So I tried this, and it was a miracle, man. Let me tell you, I passed so many stones, it was disgusting. I couldn't believe that stuff was in my body because I'd always kind of prided it, taking my body. You know, I'd always been a bodybuilder and kept my physical appearance up, and I couldn't believe this filth was in there.
3 years ago, just to interrupt you, 3 years ago, Anthony was back there when he first started working here, and he was doing a liver cleanse because he worked here for about 6 to 8 months before he was ever even on air. I guess he'd been a guest before, but before we even announced he was actually working here, because then he was just a consultant. And he's going, you got to do this liver cleanse, you got to do this liver cleanse, you got to do this liver cleanse. You know, we need to come out with our own, special brand of this concentrate that Dr. Group's developing. And I showed me online photos of gallstones and gallbladders, and I said, I don't believe that. And finally, after 1.5 years of him pecking at me and you, I did it. And I don't want to get into details. It didn't happen the next day like it does for most people. It happened 2 days later when I was at Alamo Draft House about to walk in to see a movie, and I said, excuse me 1 minute to my friends. I think I was out with my kids. I made them sit out there on the bench, and I went in, and I'm not going to get into details, but it's like a horror movie. And I had the black balls, which they say is even worse than the green ones. Oh, don't put it on screen. The point is, no wonder these things rupture, because your body is trying to process stuff that isn't natural. It just balls it up. It doesn't know what to do. So I interrupted you. Start over with what happened to you, sir, Jim.
Well, Alex, mine were actually tan stones, and I had a bunch of stuff that looked like grit and sand that came out as well. And to be short, I had so much pain under my right rib cage, Dr. Group, that it felt like there was popping in there. And if I pushed on it, I could actually feel popping. Well, now my guess is I had so many stones in there that they were grinding against each other.
God.
I did this thing that you suggested, got the liver cleanse, and I turbo boosted. I did some research on the internet, and I turbo boosted it by doing Epsom salts as well. And I passed, it had to have been easily 100 stones. And today I feel better than I did 30 years ago. I have more energy. And when I urinate, I can smell it actually from feet away. So I know my body is just blowing toxins out that the bile ducts must have been previously completely blocked up or something.
Well, I forgot. I called Group the next day and I said, I didn't pass the stones. And he goes, you may have to do another one. You may be really backed up. And he said, I tell you what, go to the store, get the little caplets, get Epsom salts, and take 5 or 6 of those tonight. And then that was the next day it did it. But I had to take the Epsom salt. I forgot. So I guess that's how you turbocharge. When do you recommend you take the Epsom salts for people like Jim and I?
Well, we actually added the Epsom salts to the actual program itself. So the day that you drink the olive oil, earlier in the day, around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, we have you do the Epsom salts, mix them in water, and drink that down. And then later in the evening that day, which is the flush day, is when you drink the 4 to 6 ounces of olive oil, of course, cold-pressed organic olive oil. And the reason why the olive oil is included and the reason it works so good is because it's like oil pulling, which is an ancient Ayurvedic tradition of circulating oil in your mouth, and it pulls toxins out. So what happens when you drink that much olive oil, it goes in, it goes through the liver, you're lying on your right side, and the 4 days beforehand when you're taking the liver shield, what you're doing is you're softening all the stones, you're turning them into sponge-like stones.
You're opening the liver.
And you're breaking them into littler pieces, and the gallbladder. And so that day, the heavy amount of oil from the olive oil is actually going to contract and squeeze, almost like you have a sponge full of water and you squeeze that out. Without the olive oil, you don't ever get that squeezing effect.
Well, sure, but I mean, this is sensational. This should have been on Oprah and Dr. Oz. I didn't believe it. When you guys were telling me, I just said, come on, I'm not going to have green balls come out.
Okay, so think of all the money spent on gallbladder surgeries every year. Think of how many people have their gallbladders taken out every single year. I don't have that estimate in front of me, but I know there's millions and billions and millions of dollars.
It's got to be billions.
It's got to be billions. So
I mean, total health care is like some ridiculous number, like $500 billion a year or something.
So if you could save your gallbladder for $5, let's say, with $5 worth of olive oil, you know, what we're doing is actually making it safe with the Liver Shield, you know, taking it, you know, the way you should do it so you don't get stone lodged.
I want to just briefly go back to Jim because we're going to go to break and come back with 2 more segments and then do a full hour of Overdrive, 4th hour now live. But talking to Jim, how would you just in, 10 words or a statement describe the Dr. Group InfoWars Life Liver Cleanse?
Man, it saved me a lot of money from an operation, like Dr. Group was saying. It's cleansed out my body where I smell more toxins coming out now. I have more energy. It was a big lifesaver for me. I'm definitely going to try the OxyCleanse now. I'm a big advocate of natural remedies, and I always listen to your show, and anytime Dr. Group's on, I perk up and try to take in his advice. And we are seeing an increase in everything in our products, just like you guys were talking about earlier, from bisphenol P and A to these nanotechnologies.
Absolutely. Now's the time to detox. Thank you so much, Jim.